What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Unknown Coatings channel. I am Sean, and on this channel we end up kind of bringing you into the world of powder coating, or at least that's what we try to do. Doing kind of a little different project today. It's something I have done in the past in videos, but with no explanation. I know it's been in like a Motivation Monday, and then some other video where there was no direction given as to what I was doing. So it led to a ton of questions from you guys, both on the UKC Army page on Facebook, as well as just in the comments. So I thought I'd make a video. This particular end product is not for everybody. These techniques are not going to be for everybody. A lot of you are not going to like them. In fact, in the automotive world, it's probably pretty limited as to what you could use it on, and being that I do mostly automotive, it's even more limited for me. I did these on some armrests for my tattoo artist that he manufactures these and sells them. You guys have seen tons of them in other videos in the past, so I'm sure you will recognize them. But I'm going to go through the process of kind of showing you how to manipulate powder to give kind of special effects. And these are just ideas. You can definitely use other things than what I'm using here if you want to experiment at home and try this, or in your shop, whatever. In this one, I use water, a spray bottle basically, paint brushes, and a sponge, like drywall sponges, but you can use whatever kind of sponge, and you'll see that in the video here. I guess let's just get to it. All right, so as far as tools, I already had this stuff, but I decided to go rebuy it basically at just my local Home Depot. These three things were $13.62 for all of them. The only thing that's not in here is this like squirt water bottle, which is $1 at Walmart. And we'll get to that obviously. So I just bought like a basic paintbrush. You want to make sure that you get, if you buy paintbrushes, make sure you get decent ones that the bristles don't fall out. That's going to be a big deal. I bought this little stencil brush set. It was like, I don't know, $3 or $4 if I remember correctly. It just has a little more coarse bristle, and they're a lot smaller, so a little more controlled. And then this pack of sponges. These are actually drywall sponges, I believe, like for doing grout and drywall and things of that nature. So a pack, I mean, this whole pack is only like $7. And, you know, we'll get through each one of these and see how each one can be used. Guys, so parts we're starting with here, you've seen these in a bunch of other videos. These are actually tattoo armrests that I do for my tattoo artist. But we are going to do a couple different ways of doing gradients, which, you know, we're going to get to here. Obviously, you'll see the different ways. The base that I have on these is just a gold. This gold, I think, is from IFS. I think this is bonded gold metallic. It's a cool color. I actually really like this color. On camera it's a little wonky, but in person it's way cooler. So I have 3 different sets of these, and so we're going to try 3 different ways of doing this. And one of them I've never tried. Like conceptually I think it'll be perfect, but I guess we'll see. You guys can either watch me fail or you can learn something with me. Okay, so on all of these we're doing a black to gold gradient. So the first step, well, second step, I guess, after making them gold, is to apply black. Guess I should adjust this. And so ideally you want to put the black only where you're going to end up with black stuff. I'm going to do these a little bit different from each other just for a little bit of variety. These end up with a little cap that sits on the ends. It probably covers like 1.5 inches at the end of these. So it's something to keep in mind, because if you only did like 2 inches at the end, you're not going to see very much of it, obviously, once the cap is on. So we'll throw some super wet black from IFS onto these. And you want to have like a nice clean gradient. It doesn't have to be perfect, because obviously we're going to be manipulating it, as you'll see in this, the whole point of this video here. But you want to have it, you know, like a nice clean gradient, and you want it, you know, as even as you can get it all the way around the part. You know, being perfect isn't going to matter just because of the way that we're going to end up manipulating it. Do this top one too. Probably should have done this one first, but that's okay. All right. So the first one that we're going to do actually is the water bottle version. This is the one that you guys have probably seen me do the most. I know I got a ton of questions about it when I was doing it. This is just a basic squirt bottle from Walmart, and then it has distilled water. I choose to use distilled water just so there's no impurities, there's no minerals, no anything. One time I used like spring water, and you could see all the areas where it dried up, there was like minerals in it. So there's a couple different techniques, and you got to get your spray pattern decent. Make sure that this is in camera here. All right. So I just do like a sweeping motion straight down, and the advantage you have here is you can wipe this off. If you get it wrong, just blow it. You know, you're gonna have to wipe it off because it'll be wet powder, but you're just gonna blow it off. And so like this one is super aggressive. I'm gonna leave it this way just so you guys can see it, because some of the other ones that I've done were not nearly as aggressive. You can adjust the spray pattern to do whatever you want. Now the way that this thing sits, this points straight up. So my focus is only on the top of these. I don't really care what the bottom of it looks like necessarily. And you can see in these two different ones here, this one took a lot. It took 3 squirts to get what this one did in 1, but that's really just a matter of getting, you know, how close you get. And there's no consistency to it necessarily. So if you're trying to make this absolutely perfect, you're wasting your time. This is just to create like kind of like a grunge effect, so to speak. And I'll do it on the back of these as well. And so, and I guess I gotta move the camera so you guys can see the top one. There we go. And I try to do it sort of directional, because it seems like when the water hits, it kind of moves. My water's almost out. It kind of moves the powder in a specific way. And this one, admittedly, like looking at this, I feel like I probably removed too much of the powder, but because I'm just doing black and gold, and I don't really care ultimately what it looks like in the end, because it's just for testing purposes, this one will be fine. And you're gonna have to play with this a little bit, you know, as you do all of these techniques. You know, you're gonna kind of learn what works and what doesn't, and how much water is too much water, or too much of the brush use, sponge use, whatever. But I've done these a few times, and you know, people seem to really like them. I know that people who purchase these from my tattoo artist, who I do all this stuff for, really like them. So they've been a hit no matter what. And then you're gonna have to clear these. That's the other thing that we'll obviously get to. But I will do one other task here, because when you blow this powder off, it tends to fall down in some areas, and it just looks a little tacky, in my opinion. So I just end up blowing it off. And you're gonna want to use a gun that you can control, an air gun that you can control. Some of the cheap air guns don't offer you nearly the same type of control. And we're gonna put this one in the oven to get it flowed out, and then we're gonna be clearing it, obviously. Almost forgot that I was doing this. So because on the piece, you know, this piece is an upright that mounts on the previous piece, and we had gold in the center, we're gonna do black theoretically on the top. So we'll just call, I mean, it doesn't matter what half you do. I'm gonna do it on the bottom just so that I don't have any extra powder falling down into a place I didn't want it anyway. And then, you know, technically this will end up being the top. These are the same, uniform. Once again, this is IFS Super Wet Black. This is, in my opinion, the best gloss black on the market. I know a lot of you guys have gotten samples and talked to IFS about it and mentioned me, so I appreciate that a ton. And this one we're going to try to be a little more subtle on. So So you can make the spray pattern, the wider it is, the softer it is as far as color hitting this. See, and this one just does kind of like a cool like grunge effect gradient. It doesn't really affect the color all the way down, like on some of the other ones that I did. And this is just more or less showing you guys the variety that you can do. It's all, I mean, a lot of it's based on the spray pattern that you have coming out of your bottle. So we'll get this one in the oven as well. One did it slightly different. On this one, I went ahead and powder coated the entire thing black, because now what I'm going to do is use a brush to manipulate the powder. And basically what it's going to be doing is it's going to let the gold show through the black, is the end result here. And so once again, there's no special technique to this. You want to hit it as light as you can. There is no right or wrong. Let's see if I can get a little better angle on this for you guys. And this is just to create an effect, right? Like, it's not for anything in particular. So you can definitely just do whatever you want. And if you're, you know, this is the thing, as corny as it might sound, like if you're artistic in any way, like this is going to be a thing where you're going to have a huge advantage over somebody like me. I guess I'm pretty artistic from a digital standpoint. I think when I try to be artistic doing stuff like this, I'm, you know, a pretty big fail hard, honestly. And don't worry about like the little dots and stuff. That's not worth stressing over for this particular task. And then one thing you can do if you have multiple size brushes is utilize multiple size brushes. Trying to make sure that this is all in frame for you guys here. But if you utilize multiple size brushes, you can get obviously a little cooler technique, or a little cooler patterns and things of that nature. Let's see here. And I'm sure that there are people watching this that think that this is ridiculous, and that's fine too. I mean, obviously this isn't going to be a thing that you're going to use on a set of wheels probably, or I've actually done similar stuff to this on old sets of wheels, like steel wheels for old cars, where they want kind of a, not necessarily a patinaed look, but something along those lines. But you can see, get back in here, you can see these lines that it creates, and these are going to look pretty gangster when it's all cured out and cooled, or cured out and cleared rather. Getting back down here, do some more work on this one. And the cool part is, like I said, there's no wrong way of doing this. And if you hate it, you just wipe it off. Well, if you hate it before you cure it, I should say, you just wipe it off and try again. And I know I was hoping that I would make these not uniform, but like color-wise a little more uniform. I guess they're pretty alright now. So I'm gonna take this one, throw it in the oven, give you kind of a rundown of how it looks here. Super random, obviously, as it stands right now. I'm gonna try a bigger brush, and admittedly I've never used a brush. Well, I've used a brush this big before, but not in this way. I've used it in a different way that I'll probably have to get to at some other tutorial. Well, this is a bummer. This one keeps picking up enough powder and putting it back where I already wiped off powder. So I guess at this one, it's really a start at the top and work your way down. And I chose this color combo. Well, part of it's because I had to shoot gold anyway. But I chose this color combo. And see, I think, just because I think the black and gold will go really well together. Most of you know that's kind of my jam. I think the ones like this are gonna look really cool. It looks like a little like burst almost. Another one up here. Let's see if I can get this to focus. Something like that. So we'll throw these in the oven, see what they do. Like I said, they're all gonna be cleared, so I'm not too worried about anything beyond that. And the next step is the sponge technique. Okay, and then this one, just like the last one, coated the whole thing in the top, you know, super wet black in this case, whatever top coat you want to use. One thing I do want to mention is you want to do a really thin coat. You don't, this would not be a typical full coverage, you know, if you were doing a second coat on something. So we got your drywall sponge here. You don't have to use a drywall sponge. I've done this before with the faux painting or the faux something ones that you can find them in the paint section that are a lot more rough and aggressive, a lot more open. They're for doing like the crazy texturing on walls or the appearance of texturing. So this you want to spray down with water. Not crazy wet, but you're definitely going to want it damp. And this one's a little tough because it's on round parts, you know, so it's not ideal. But this one, you're just gonna touch it all the way, I mean, wherever you want. Once again, there's no right or wrong to any of this. And you can use different ends. That's the thing I've done in the past, or different parts of this for different size marking. So you can do the end. You can cut this up too, do smaller pieces if you want to do that. But this is all just in ways to do something that's a little more artsy. I mean, this particular one, depending on the sponge you're using, works great for doing like a patina type finish. You know, you do like a copper or rust, you know, colored base coat, whatever that might be for you. And then do like a, you know, a lot of people will do like a teal, you know, like a Tiffany blue type color, or seafoam green. I've seen people do it with mint quite a bit. But you do a light coat of that, and then you use this technique over top of it. And you don't want, you know, the one thing when you're doing a patinaed finish, you don't want any sort of consistency. I mean, you want no consistency of any kind. Because a patinaed finish obviously has no real consistency to it. I mean, you'll see rust and stuff that develops in certain spots more than others. But unless you have like a really good eye for doing that type of thing, I think trying to do that, you're going to get yourself into trouble. But once again, there's no wrong way. So, you know, get yourself into trouble is a pretty relative statement at that point. This one I got a little too wild over here. I removed way too much black, which is perfect because I was gonna mess. I have one more of these that I was gonna mess up a little bit to show you guys that you can really just throw powder back over it and try it again, which is what we're gonna do here. The powder is gonna look really weird as it hits though, understand that. It's not gonna lay nice and smooth. So for all you guys out there that think that I never make mistakes, first of all, that's ridiculous, and I would never make that claim. But now you can see I totally just made a mistake. I think I made a mistake on my first ever live I did from the shop as well. Get this sponge a little more wet. And these sponges you can use a bunch of times. I mean, you're just gonna have to rinse it like you would any other sponge. So getting down into these tighter corners with this particular sponge, I guess I probably should have cut one. I knew better. Normally I do this on like valve covers and some other parts, but I'm not gonna worry about that gold that's too visible. Maybe I'll spray some more powder on that one. Just a little. And make sure that you're keeping your sponge at least damp. You know, it just has to be moist. I mean, it doesn't have to be damp. You're not going to be able to wring water out of it. But yeah, something like that. I've actually seen a buddy of mine was trying this technique one day, bored kind of. He was at my shop messing around. And he took one of these sponges and he cut it up into a bunch of weird shapes and just started, like, with two hands, was just going all over it with two completely different shapes, just trying to create a whatever effect. So get a close up here. All right, so now you can kind of see this close up. I'll show a close up of all the other ones too before they went in for curing, just so you can kind of see what you end up with, or what you could end up with. I just realized I told you guys that I was going to show the other ones close up before curing, but they're already in the oven and already started flowing out, so that ain't gonna work now. Yeah, I figured this one might be a pain in the ass. One of these ends, make sure it's a little more damp. And there we go. And throw this in the oven with the other stuff and pull it out here in a couple minutes. So I got these things cleared in Extreme Adams Gold just to give it more of a gold flake. And you can see the effect that this has. This is the spray bottle one. You can see it kind of creates, I mean, it's been called like a grunge look. I guess I don't know if that's necessarily the right phrasing for it, but you know, once the clear's on, you can't feel it or anything. It's all still smooth. And I understand that a lot of people maybe aren't going to like this particular look or any of these looks, but this is just showing you guys that there's different ways of trying to get certain looks, and there's, you know, there's more than just these ones. There's lots of other ways to create cool looks with powder coat. So let's move to the next one. Shouldn't skip this one. This is the upright for that same base that I just showed. You can definitely see the look it creates. All right, and then this is the paintbrush one. Let's see if I can't get this to focus here. You can see that cool effect that it creates. This is, like, I think probably my favorite one. Could probably been done a little with more like consistency to it, but more or less I was kind of rushing these just to give you guys a tutorial and show you the way to experiment with it, more than try to make like the best possible outcome. But either way, it turned out pretty cool, in my opinion. It's definitely going to be, you know, these are going to be for tattoo artists who are obviously artsy to some degree. So stuff like this is going to be, it seems to be a little better received maybe by like artistic type people than somebody just looking for plain cool colors or whatever. We'll grab, move this out of the way and grab the upright for this one as well. The one I was actually pretty excited about seeing is some of these ones that look like a burst of some kind. Hopefully that picks up well and stays in focus. But a bunch of these look really cool. And even the little dots on these ended up looking pretty cool overall. They all look like they're kind of streaking. So once again, I'll smooth it a touch. Like I said, when you clear it, you definitely don't have to worry about the texture that you're creating with the brushes or the sponge or the water. All right, and then this is the sponge one. When I mentioned that you aren't going to feel a texture, the biggest thing with that is you don't want to get too much powder on here. That's why I said shoot a thin coat. The heavier the coat, and then if you try to do something, obviously, the more chance you're going to have for having like a crazy texture. You know, once again, this has nothing, absolutely no texture of any kind. Super glad that I put this Adams Gold, or this is actually Extreme Adams Gold top coat on this, just because it gives it a little more depth, a little cooler looking, in my opinion. Been using this color quite a bit, but I've always used Adams Gold. Actually had that on a set of my wheels back in the day. Go to the other side of this. Really hope this thing focuses well for you guys, that it picks up the depth of it. And then we'll grab the upright for this one as well, and show you that. Admittedly, the sponge one works a lot better on like a knot bar or tube like these ones are. Be a lot better on like a bigger, flatter surface, in my opinion. I mean, this worked out, but it's hard to get any sort of like decent consistency going around it with a sponge, especially, like I said, I was doing this in a hurry more just to show you guys that it could be done and give you guys some ideas of other ways of manipulating powder to create special effects and things of that nature. So we'll go throw these things together and get final video of all three of them together. All right, this is all three of them together. Got the brush one on the left there, the water one in the center, and a sponge one on the right. So well, these are going up to my tattoo artist with the next batch. I already have a bunch of other colors already done, but I figured it'd be a good time to make a tutorial for you guys on doing some of this stuff. So hope you enjoyed.
By now you should have at least blown. It's funny, I'm mad famous for being unknown.